Hi, everybody. It's Royce Fletcher Thomason here. I am so grateful to be able to be here with you on today, Wednesday, December 30th, 2020. It's the last Wednesday of 2020. Therefore, it's the last Wednesday Hope and Healing Hour of 2020. I know we got started a little bit, a few minutes later today than usual. My apologies for that. But we're here to close out today, to close out the year with this hope and healing hour. Really focusing today on letting go, on releasing, on eliminating. Those are things, in terms of from a mental, emotional, and spiritual level. On the physical level, we're dealing with issues related to the gut, issues related to digestion, things that would include matters such as IBS, any type of gastrointestinal issues, constipation, um, gastritis, any kind of issues that relate to our process of eliminating from the body what's no longer serving it. And that has its correlation certainly from a mental, emotional, and spiritual standpoint as well. So those are going to be the things that we'll be focusing on today in today's Hope and Healing Hour. Today is the second to the last day of what has, for most people, been a really interesting year, and a year unlike any that we've experienced before. And it hasn't been an all bad year. There have been some definite things that have taken place that have impacted all of us, that have been what we can consider to be challenging for sure. But at the same time, there are also some things that hopefully we have been able to reflect upon that actually benefited us in the bigger scheme of things. And I want to acknowledge Dulcie, who is here from Hawaii. I almost said hola, Dulcie. Aloha, Dulcie. And Kat Scandon. I'm not sure exactly where you are, Kat, but welcome and greetings to you and to everybody else who's here today. Infinite blessings upon all of us who are here today, who are um, looking to, in whatever way, in whatever shape, form, or fashion, focus on our own well-being, the well-being of others, as it relates to the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things. And so we're from Oregon. Okay, all right. Well, certainly glad to have you here. And Kat and Dulcie are friends. That's awesome. Dulcie, you're so awesome. You bring all kinds of wonderful people to our Hope and Healing Hours. But and Trisha, good to see you from New Hampshire today. So again, we're here right at the end of 2020. 2020 has been a year of, in a lot of ways, not necessarily ways that we would have hoped for or would have, you know, just imagined in our mind's eye that this is how we would like this year to unfold. But there have been so many things that, speaking of mind's eye, there have been so many things that have caused us to open our eyes and see things that we have not necessarily been aware of or been conscious of or been paying attention to in the past. Oh, Angela, hello to you. Always good to see Angela. um, 2020 has definitely brought up things that have been maybe in one way or another been hiding beneath the surface, things that have been in the dark for many of us, and so many things have come to light. Okay, light has been shown in some of the dark areas of um, life here on planet Earth, certainly in the United States where we're broadcasting from. There's been all kinds of stuff that unfolded with, with the coronavirus pandemic, all kinds of crazy political stuff going on. A lot of things that point to a sense of separation. The reality is that we are actually going into a new dispensation where things are going to come clear or going to be clarified. But some of the things, some of the heaviness that came up in 2020 really kind of needed to come up in order for us to get to the new place that we're going into, and that really deals significantly with what the focus is for today's Wednesday Hope and Healing Hour. Sometimes there are things in our systems that we carry with us energetically, things that we carry with us even physically, that are just sitting there, that are sitting there dormant, that aren't really serving us well, but that need to come up and come out. They need to be exposed to the light. They need to come out. The way that the human body works, we take in nutrition. We take in nutrition, right? That nutrition, ideally, we take in nutrition. A lot of the things that we call food today aren't really nutrition per se, but uh, we take in food. The idea is that we are being nourished by that which we take into our bodies, and that which we take into our bodies, we break it down chemically through the process of mastication, the chewing of the food. It's chemically broken down through the saliva in our mouth, through the acids in our stomach, in order to be broken down to be small enough particles for the body to be able to utilize, for the cells of the body to be able to utilize. That food goes down into our intestines. It's further broken down into the intestines, and the plasma in the blood actually picks up the nutrients that are in that food and delivers it to all of the cells of the body. So all of the cells of the body get to eat. But then each cell of the body, just as it takes in the nutrition, it also needs to eliminate the waste. It needs to let go of, take in what will serve it, release what is not serving it. Okay. And so then that process is kind of replicated again, brought back to the gut, and hopefully, ideally, eliminated from our system, so that we are only having in us that which is serving the highest and greatest good of our bodies, and everything that that is not serving, excuse me, that is not serving our bodies, or that is no longer serving our bodies, that which we would consider waste. That which is waste needs to be eliminated. It needs to be eliminated so that we can go forward as healthy, happy, wholesome individuals. And what unfortunately happens in many occasions is that there are things that go into the system, things that aren't really necessarily processed by the body. Okay, there are certain things that the body interprets as food based on the the vibrational signature that is attached to those things that we take into our body, based on the electrical components that are based in that. The body is electrical, and so the food that we take in is to actually keep the electricity or the energy flowing in our bodies. You heard about about dehydration, I'm sure. The reason that people drink things like Gatorade and Powerade and things like that, things are unfortunately have a lot of sugar added to them now in a way that they didn't years ago. But those are to replace the electrolytes. That's the sense of electricity. Okay. Things like seaweed are high in electricity. They give your body energy. They give your body nourishment. They give your body energy. They allow things to fire properly within the body so that it can do the things that it needs to do, taking in the things it needs to take in, engaging in the activities it needs to engage in, eliminating the things it doesn't need to have as part of it. But unfortunately, in the culture and society in which we currently live, so much of the things that we refer to as food aren't really things that are um, allowing for nourishment of the body. And even those things that are legitimate foods, strawberries, and I mean, I could go on naming all kinds of foods that are just natural foods intended for human consumption. Even those things, the body isn't able to completely process 100% of those things. Um, do you know what food has the highest percentage of digestible protein? If anybody actually knows the answer to that question, I'd love for you to drop that in. And this is a moment where I really kind of wish that we were in real time, because then you wouldn't have to wait 30 seconds or 20 seconds or 15 seconds, however long it takes you to hear what I'm saying from the time that I've actually said it. But I am curious if anybody should happen to jot down what your thoughts are on what food is the most digestible form of protein. In other words, what food has the most bioavailability of protein that the body is actually able to use. All right. Um, if any of you all comment, that's great. If not, that's fine too. I'll tell you what it is. It's spirulina. Spirulina is a blue-green algae. It's called spirulina because the shape that it's naturally in is like a spiral. Okay. It is a superfood. In my opinion, it doesn't have necessarily the most pleasing taste per se, but I usually put it in smoothies. But spirulina has, of all foods on the planet Earth, has the largest percentage of digestible protein. It doesn't mean that it has the most protein, but it has the highest percentage of protein that's available to the human body. Okay. And the percentage of bioavailability of protein that comes from spirulina is still only 60%. Okay, it's only 60%. So the other 40%, the body isn't actually able to use, it isn't able to process, it isn't able to actually do anything with it. Angela said she's having a smoothie as I'm speaking about one. That's awesome. Um, at any rate, all foods that we take in, there's only a certain amount of that food, no matter how good of a food it is, that is actually going to be able to be used by the body, and the rest will need to be eliminated. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, and perhaps you've noticed, is that people, certainly in the United States of America, and I am quite sure that it is true in other parts of the world, is that people are much heavier today than they were 30 years ago, for instance. People are much, much heavier today than they were not so many years ago, actually. And a big portion of the reason for that is because a lot of the things that we take into our system, a lot of things that we ingest nowadays are things that the body does not actually interpret as food. Okay. So I know that we have been on this big kick, and really it's a marketing thing in the United States of having all of this low fat this, low fat that. And really all kinds of things are put in the marketing of things and the labeling of things to give you the impression that it's healthy. Like all these things that say gluten free. Well, if it's not something that would contain wheat in it, it's automatically going to be gluten free because gluten comes from wheat. So to have something like butter, for instance, that says gluten free is, is kind of ridiculous because, wheat isn't in, I'm using that as an example, wheat isn't in butter. So of course um, there's no gluten in that particular product. Similarly, there are a lot of things that are advertised as being low fat. The reality is that fat really doesn't make people fat. Fat doesn't really make people fat. the foods that are marketed as low fat, people are eating all of this low fat food, but the food is actually higher in calories because it's loaded with sugar. Because two things that make food taste good are fat and sugar. Okay, so they reduce the fat, but then they increase the sugar. Newsflash. Oh, my mic just popped off. I'm sorry about that. The reality is that sugar turns to fat. Okay, so taking in sugar, eating all this sugar will actually make you fat. Not only that, the body doesn't really particularly process that. And all foods that the body doesn't really process too well or really interpret as food, doesn't really know what to do with, the body will end up storing. It'll end up being stored as fat, or it'll end up getting stuck somewhere in the digestive tract. Or we could take in things that actually tear away at the lining of the gut. And then the gut begins to leak, and the toxins and other things that are no longer serving our body, that aren't serving our body, rather than being flushed out of our system, actually leak into our system. And so it can manifest as skin issues. It can manifest as brain fog. It can manifest as low energy. It can manifest in a variety of different ways, all of that dealing with issues related to the gut. And so you may see right now, scrolling upon the bottom of your screen, our focus today is really on releasing, letting go, eliminating. What are things in your life as we begin to close out this very interesting year? Angela said, not only were you having a smoothie, but a smoothie that has spirulina in it. Okay, that's fantastic. Um, as we begin to close out 2020, what are some things that you are needing to let go of? What are some things that you feel like you're needing to release? What are some things that have been a part of your life that you feel like you may need to eliminate? All right. Now, these could be mindsets, attitudes, it could be relationships, people, it could be behaviors, habits. Um, what types of things, for some people, it may be a particular job. What kinds of things are you at a point of needing to release, to let go of, to eliminate from your life at this time as we begin to close out this year? Maybe it's a sense of heaviness. Maybe it is the news, or maybe watching so much of it, where you take in all of this uh, basically negative energy, because most of the stuff that's on the news really is it's sensationalized to get ratings and to keep people locked into a fear that becomes actually addictive, and people want and need more of it. And that ends up programming the reticular activating system within the brain that ends up manifesting negatively in the amygdala of the brain, keeping us in a fight or flight mode, which also increases and causes a continuous increase in the adrenaline over, having the adrenals overactive, and increase in the stress hormone cortisol, which actually has a negative impact on the body. It creates a much more rapid heart rate rather than letting your body be able to relax. And as Whitley Gilbert would say, relax, relate, release, and be able um, to be able to find your center and rest in that center. A lot of the things that we experience are things that aren't necessarily serving our highest and best good. And what are some things? Dulcie says a messy closet. That's really interesting, because there's something to that. And when we think about the closet, what does the closet represent? The closet can represent um, the closet can represent things that we don't necessarily um, want to let out, things that we don't want to necessarily um, allow, in some cases, ourselves or others to be aware of. It can be a place that can become cluttered. Okay, it can be a place um, where we're holding on to things that we haven't worn in years and years and years and probably would never wear again. And it may represent a holding on to something in the past, a difficulty letting go. And I'm not picking on you, by the way, Dulcie. I'm because you mentioned that. I'm just sharing that because it's something that perhaps others can relate to in terms of a focal point in life that might be an area of for a growth opportunity. Angela says self doubt, fear, anxiety, toxic conversations with people that don't serve you, and sugar. You know what? The reality is, the more sugar you eat, the more sugar that you need to eat. When you eat less sugar, you don't really need to eat the sugar as much. Here's an interesting piece of information: it's not really you that wants the sugar, it's the parasites in your body that are craving the sugar. Ah, that's interesting, huh? In fact, um, parasites actually love sugar, and they thrive in a sugary environment. So um, that's a good um, a good thing to work on eliminating. Also, there's, just as an FYI on that, there is a product. I think it's either by I think it's by the Garden of Eden or Garden of Eden. Anyway, it's a protein supplement. It's called Fit something, um, but it actually gives your body the nutrition to actually help to release those cravings for sugar. Um, Kat says health fears, doubting your worth, are things that you want to eliminate, let go of, release as we close out 2020. Um, Dulce, yes, you do want to be so sweet. And you can allow it to be natural rather than take in some stuff that's not actually real. um, uh, as far as the sugar is concerned. um, I want to check in with you all also and ask, is there anybody that's actually experiencing any type of digestive issues at all that we can support you in addressing today? We're certainly happy to do that. And regardless, we're going to kind of collectively address some of these things that have been mentioned today. What I'm going to do is I'll end up kind of doing something of a group healing for the different things that we've mentioned here, uh, the different things that have been put in the comments here. Okay, but if anybody else has anything, please add that to the list, particularly if it's anything of a physical nature at all, because anything actually in the physical, including issues with the digestion, issues with the gut, those things are actually connected to things on an energetic level that relate to the very things that we're focusing on today, in terms of the letting go, um, the releasing, the eliminating. Um, that could come in the form of setting healthy boundaries or letting go to certain attachments to certain outcomes. It could deal with letting go of expectations um, of yourself or other people or circumstances or situations of how things, quote unquote, should work out or should be unfolding, or what someone else should, quote unquote, be doing or not be doing. So, on that note, it could be a need to control other people or other things or circumstances, things of that nature. All right. So, we're going to go ahead and we'll go and get started with some healing, kind of on all of these things that we've mentioned, that have been put in the chat. Um, so I'll do a quick prayer on this, and then we'll start actually do some healing work. So God, I know you to be a healer, a transformer, a establisher or a reestablisher of wholeness. And I bear witness to you as being a healer through the demonstration thereof. I'm thankful that through the power of pure love and the Holy Spirit, you give me this opportunity to demonstrate you as a healer. On the behalf of all of us present here today, and all of those even who shall watch the playback of this video, neutralizing the root cause of all of the things that have been mentioned in the chat as things that would serve us well to eliminate, to let go of, to release. From the point of the entire energetic structure, every strand of DNA and every cell of our body, every strain particle of our existence, and every wave of consciousness from our being, transmuting those things into and replacing them with a sense of ease and grace, with a sense of going forward, in a sense of empowerment, authentic empowerment, and genuine wholeness. Genuine wholeness. And I bear witness to our wholeness, beginning on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you, God, for this gift of your divine love. It is done, it is done, it is done. And so something came to me um, even as we were actually um, in the process of uh, doing that prayer, that a lot of times the fear of letting go is connected to a sense of lack. All right. So we want to take any fear of letting go, whether that's a person, a situation, circumstance, attitude, belief system, victim story, whatever the case is. We want to address a fear of letting go and replace that with awareness of, really, that fear of letting go is connected to a sense of lack. That if we let go, that we'll be missing something, that there won't be anything to replace it, that we somehow won't be whole. All right. The reality is that nature abhors a vacuum, so there's going to be something that's going to come to fill that space anyway. So it's good to allow for that release, for something that's more suitable to come in and take the place of that which there's maybe been some fear of letting go of. And so that fear of letting go in general, we want to transmute that into and replace it with a sense of enoughness, of bounty, of plenty, okay? Of bountiful bright blessings overflowing, filling our cups to the point of running over. Yes. All right. And not only that, but a sense of worthiness of um, participating with a bounty of bright blessings. All right. For all of this, may this be so. Okay. All right. We want to look at connection between the brain and the gut. You know, the body actually has two brains. One is in your head and the other one's in your gut. A lot of people don't necessarily know that. Um, okay. We want to reestablish the communication between the brain and the gut, and vice versa between the gut and the brain, and strengthen that line of communication. All right. And then there's aspects within the consciousness of all of us that want to support the whole of our bodies, the greater good of our bodies, our well being. And there are also some parts of our bodies that are actually resistant to that. Actually, that's what parasites are, kind of by definition. They want to do, actually, that's exactly what cancer is. It wants to do its own thing, and wants to recruit other people to rebel against the system. Okay. We want to bring all of that into harmony, actually, uh, deprogramming the electromagnetic fields around certain cells that block off the signal from the master cell in the pineal gland in the brain, to become receptive to that. Okay. Versandra says, "Hey, Versandra." Versandra says, "Yes, heal your gut, heal your life." All right. All right. Okay. And I see, I'm not able to read it right now, Versandra, but I see that you've got another message dealing with Kanaya. I'll have to go back and check that one out too. All righty. So we really want to also deactivate the power of the enemy of our soul, not as some outside force, but the enemy that is within me, the enemy that is in here, inside of us, in terms of uh, wrong thinking, um, the ideas that we're not good enough, that we're too much of something. Want to eliminate those from the point of the root cause, transmute them into, replace them uh, with a sense of being able to flow with the reality, um, that we're each and every one of us created by a God that makes no mistakes and a God that don't make no junk. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right. All righty. And I actually kind of want to speak to the limbic system and the brains of everybody who's kind of connected to this, that holds on to trauma, negative emotions, and negative experiences that have they've been keeping us stuck. When I actually uh, turn on the all clear signal in the brain, allow that to be in communication with the gut. It doesn't have to hold things so tight. Have you ever noticed? The intent is not to be gross or anything, but have you ever noticed that if you're having difficulty having an elimination, when you allow yourself to relax, when you allow your body to relax, become less tense and to relax, is able to actually flow much more easily. So we want the limbic system to kind of relax and flow with a sense of ease and grace. All right. Well, look at in general the element of earth. All of the elements are inside of all of us, manifesting in different ways. Different organs, different systems are controlled by, are connected with different elements. Different health conditions are connected with imbalance of different elements in certain ways. And so when we talk about the element of earth. The nature of the element of earth is stability, security, uh, staying the same, being unmoved. Okay. And sometimes if we end up getting backed up in our system, we end up having in some area an excess of the element of earth in a way that's not serving us, you know, to the best. And so sometimes that holding on is connected, not sometimes, it just is connected to um, a sense of uh, fear of letting go, excess of the element of earth. And so we want to actually look at that excess of the element of earth by 3,500%. Okay. I'm going to bring that back into balance. Now, I felt something shift in my own body with that. Um, and we also want to look at the element of water. When you think about the nature of water, the nature of water is to flow. The nature of water is to flow, to keep it moving. um, and so we want to look at the element of water, deficiency in the excuse me in the develop. Pardon me. I'm going to have some water on that note. Deficiency of the element of water. And we'll increase that. And we're not necessarily just talking about physical water like this, but the element of water. We want to increase it by 5,200%. Okay. All right. Also, this also can relate to unprocessed emotions because the uh, emotions are actually tied to the or connected with the element of water. Both of them need to flow in order um, for them to exist in a natural, healthy state. In fact, the word emotions really comes from energy in motion. It's important not to become emotionally stuck, but to let the energy move, to let the energy move, just so we can stay emotionally clear. Not emotionally numb. That's actually just the total opposite, but emotionally clear. All right. So the energy is moving, the energy is flowing. All right. Okay. All righty. And want to actually also look at um, I want to also look at pain, okay, emotional pain, because we frequently want to take emotional pain and self-medicate. We mask that pain with certain things. We self-medicate. We might self-medicate with activities that we engage in. We frequently self-medicate with food. Okay. Um, which is a big part of why, you know, the best food is food that is good for you and tastes good to you. Okay. Um, a lot of times we think that it has to be either or. Either it is good for you or it tastes good. Um, and many times there's the decision to go with, if there's a choice between what tastes good and what is healthy, a lot of times we'll go for the option of what tastes good. But there are things that are definitely both. And so I want to look at whatever limiting belief systems, um, and that kind of comes to that lax thing. Limiting belief systems that we can't have it all. That which is good for us, and that which is we feel is something that we enjoy, that we experience a sense of pleasure with. All right. And in connection with that, um, the part of us that feels like there's something bad about us, okay, want to actually, and that's something that exists very deep, on a very deep level, okay. It comes up from indoctrination that we've received from the time that we were babies and before. It's something that's passed down from one generation to the next in terms of feeling like we're somehow bad, okay, and that we somehow need to be punished, okay. There's scripture in the Bible. Feel like it's in First John, either first, second, or third John, and it speaks to, if you feel like you need to be punished, then it means that you don't really understand love. Means that you don't really understand love. And so I want to support us all in receptivity to our own awareness of our own lovability, that we really truly are lovable. Mistakes we've all made, yes, but we're lovable. Pain we've caused to ourselves and others, yes, but we are all lovable. All right. And so we don't need to punish ourselves. We don't need to punish ourselves, including the circumstances that we draw to ourselves and the things that we put in our body, the things that we feed our eye gates and ear gates. Okay. All right. So let's kind of to weaken the hold of that, the strong hold of that sort of thing over our lives. And sometimes we've had people and organizations that want us to feel small, that want us to feel bad about ourselves because it makes it easier to control us. We want to actually free ourselves from that. Actually, to become a little slippery where that's concerned. So that kind of stuff can't s- we can't be held on to in an inappropriate way in that manner. Okay. I want to kind of get loosened from that stronghold so that and so that things that are put on us, sometimes we, have you noticed that sometimes when you make healthy changes in your life, and that healthy change could sometimes manifest as saying a necessary goodbye, that there can be pushback from that other people may want you to continue to stay as you always were. Maybe it's a unhealthy habit that you need to let go of, and maybe people in your old circle might want you to, to continue doing things the way that you've always done them, because that's what their comfort level is, and maybe they're not yet ready to make some changes in their lives. And so there could be that feeling of rejection or fear of rejection. And so we may hold on to some things because we're afraid of feeling rejected. We want to transmute and purify that through the light of the pure love of God. And the places within us that we have been or felt rejected, maybe even by people we cared about very deeply or people that we really looked up to, people that we may have needed to feel some sense of approval from. That dark corner in our lives that we've held, that want to let the light of God's love into that place, for God's magnificent healing power to be made manifest there. God's presence to be felt there, returning the sense of wholeness to our experience and our awareness. Okay. I just want to check in with you all real quickly. How's everybody doing out there? You all okay out there? What's coming up for you while we're going through these things? And I know I'm saying things out loud, but we're also providing support energetically for some of the stuff to be cleared, at least to give some level of support um, as far as us going forward and our decision to go forward. All right. Lee Patterson sending love. All right. Thank you for that, Lee. All righty. Or maybe feeling the love, whatever way it goes. Thank you for it. All right. Cassandra says she's feeling grateful. That's wonderful. I love your profile picture, by the way, Versandra, and your angel wings. That's awesome. Lee said feeling vulnerable. Welcome, dear soul. I only know one other soul who I've ever seen share those words like that before. Um, all right, feeling grateful and vulnerable. All right, wonderful. There is a gentleman by the name of Howard Thurman. Um, it was actually Howard Thurman. There was a book written by Howard Thurman called Jesus and the Disinherited that Martin Luther King Jr. was reported to have carried with him in his briefcase everywhere that he went. Howard Thurman um, was the founder of what's traditionally known as the first um, interracial, inter faith uh, church, Church of All Peoples in San Francisco. Um, he has an autobiography. His autobiography is entitled "With Head and Heart." Somebody that I really related to because he started off as a Baptist preacher, as did I, and became a mystic, as did I. Um, but one thing that Howard Thurman said, and this is related to what you were um, what you were saying about the vulnerable piece, Lee, is to feel an ultimate security and an ultimate vulnerability. This is to be loved. To feel an ultimate security and an ultimate vulnerability. That's to be loved. Okay. All righty. Okay. All right. So we want to, for all of us actually, um, bring a sense of security to all the places where we feel vulnerable. A sense of safety, knowing that we're protected. Yes. All right. Okay. All righty. All right. Oh, Trisha, you always look forward to this time. I look forward to it too. So you must be in Rocky Mountain time. You say, oh no, you said it one. At first it looked like 11, but that's actually a one. Is that an 11? No, I think it's a one and an exclamation point. Okay, my bad. Um, you're welcome, Rosandra. Dulcie says acknowledging relationships that ready to let go of. All right. All right. Yes. May we all have the courage to release relationships that it's time to let go of. And sometimes the release doesn't mean that we can't have a relationship with a certain person. Sometimes it means that there's just the change that needs to take place in a relationship. And don't say I'm not saying one way or the other for you specifically, um, but for all of us, sometimes we need to come to that point of being willing to let go, being willing to release in order for what needs to happen to be birthed. Okay. In order for what needs to take place to really be able to come forth. Lee asked the question, can you give or receive love without vulnerability? Oh, that's so powerful. True confession. I have always, well, maybe not always, but for a long time, been a person who's focused on love. Focused on love. And definitely I always want people to feel love and to feel loved and to feel loved by me. The other part of that, though, is that there are ways that I certainly held back from allowing myself to feel and be loved and to be vulnerable. And there is something about allowing another person to be with you in your vulnerability. And that creates a sense of connection and it allows for a feeling of love to be mutually experienced. That's a powerful question, Lee. Thank you for that. And so let's give some support in terms of feeling the courage to love and the courage to be loved, which really is very much connected with the courage to be vulnerable and to find safety and security in that vulnerability. Okay. All right. Yes. That was really key. Thank you for bringing that up, Lee. Um, and I'm glad you don't feel any judgment, Dulcie. There certainly isn't any. And for Sandra, yes, healing self is healing relationships. Um, we have problems in relationships. The problem is not always about what the other person is doing or not doing. Um, there could be some brokenness that we're bringing to the relationship that could either be causing us to see things that aren't there, that's causing us to attract the types of experiences that we're experiencing or the type of people that we're experiencing that may be unavailable, and it could be causing us to actually bring up in other people um, things that will trigger them to respond to us in a certain way because of areas within us that need to be healed and reconciled. Okay. All right. Something that's just coming up right now is the need to be right. Let's actually give us all some support in terms of the need to be right. That's something that can really mess people up in relationships too, by the way. Um, all right. The need to be right, the need to dominate, and even the need to be needed. Okay. It's called codependency. Knowing a thing or two about that in my lifetime. Okay, and something that I also want to um, kind of bring up and address with all of us is our victim stories. Okay, feeling safe to let go of our victim stories, whatever those victim stories might be, and we all have them. Feeling safe to let go of our victim stories and move forward into a much more empowered reality. Okay, all righty. There may be old wounds that we might need to let go of too. That doesn't mean not acknowledge the wounds or act as if they never took place or anything, but um, the attachment to them may be what it may serve us well to release. Okay, the the victim story is attached to that. That doesn't mean we need to necessarily make those same decisions that put us there in the first place, but those attachments. All right. All right. And any type of negative attachments, may we feel the courage to release those, knowing that it's okay. All right. That we have nothing to fear, that we're taken care of, that it's all going to be all right. Okay. And it is. It is. It's all going to be all right. And in reality, in this moment, in this now moment, right now, is actually all right right now. So, any fears from 2020 that we may feel tempted to uh, take with us on our journey into 2021, feel the ease and grace to release those, to be able to do so gracefully. All right. Okay. Any bottled up, unprocessed emotions, to be able to release those in a healthy way, in a way you feel safe to. Make room for life affirming experiences, feelings, thoughts, relationships, interactions. Yeah, yeah. All right. It's actually looking pretty good for us right now, people. I feel good about that. I feel good about that. All right. Okay. So we'll kind of bring it to a conclusion now as it relates to the actual healing portion. Just kind of go through, do a general uh, clearing of um, places that we feel stuck, afraid to move on, or feel unable to move on, unable to move forward, or maybe just unable to move, period. We'll get some boost of energy for being able to go forward um, unhindered. Okay. All right. With insight, integrity, authenticity, and faith. Everything is unfolding in a life affirming way. All righty. All right, all these things that we just want to transmute, purify, clear through the light of the Holy Spirit, now, henceforth, and forevermore, for all generations of time, past, present, and future. May we all experience an absolute, complete, perfect sense of wholeness and oneness. On this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you, God. We affirm it is done, it is done, it is done. Okay. All right, folks. Well, it's certainly been a pleasure being with us all today. Um, I want us to all know that healing is available for all of us, that we are loved. We are worthy of love, not just because of who we are, but because of what we are. We are beings of love and light. No matter how much we might feel in touch with that, it is still who we are because we're created in the image and likeness of God. And that's what God is. God is love. God is light. God is life. Okay. We just need compassion, understanding, and awareness of the truth of who we really are. And God and the angels have a tremendous amount of compassion for us because they see us as these beautiful, awesome souls who've, in many ways, just forgotten who we are, forgotten our power, forgotten our authentic truth of the awareness of who it is that we really ultimately are. It doesn't mean that we're better or worse than anybody else, but we all are drops of water from the ocean of God, and we all carry with us. We're all part of that ocean. We all carry with us all of the properties of the ocean. And so the ocean does not reject its various droplets of water because they're all a part of it. Okay. And so may we each, with a sense of resolve and acceptance and gratitude, receive the truth of who we really are, be able to fully embrace that, the light and the love and the peace and the power that are authentically within each and every one of us. May we receive that. May we line up with that. May we embrace that and celebrate that within ourselves. And as we're able to remove the plank from our own eyes that keeps us from seeing things as they naturally are within us, we also are able to see more clearly the beauty that exists in others. And I'll tell you, from the standpoint of a quote unquote healer, a big part of what the healing is really all about is seeing beyond the illusions. And the illusions are that other people and we ourselves are something other than whole, perfect, and complete. And the more fully we are able to see the wholeness, the more fully we're able to see the perfection, the completeness. We are creative beings. Life has no choice but to manifest to our awareness the truth of what it is that we see. And sickness goes away, the dis-ease goes away, the pain goes away, the wholeness emerges, the love, the light, those things emerge, the sense of wholeness emerges. And so as we close out 2020, uh, a year that there's been a lot of work to do, a year where things have been revealed, and we begin to go into 2020, a year of change, a year of new things taking place. Um, we move into this new dispensation. May we do so with a lightness about ourselves, with an awareness that we are beautifully awesomely, powerfully, wondrously made. And the areas where we focus our attention, the areas where we focus our consciousness, that those things grow. And so may we also have the resolve to focus, to think not on those things which stress us out, not those things that cause us angst, but whatever things are honorable and just and pure and lovely and are of good report, the things that are virtuous and the things that we can actually give praise for. And there are a whole bunch of those things. May we think on those things. I love you. I'm thankful for our time together uh, on the planet in general and our time together in today's session. I'm thankful uh, that God has seen fit for our lives to intersect at this time and space called now. I wish you an abundance of joy and goodwill and peace and harmony and all good things flowing into and through you in a way that not only tickles your socks off, causes your heart to smile and your face to wear one that matches it, but a way that also is able to cause you to leave a drop of heaven behind wherever you go. And that when you carry the presence of God with you, which you do, that others might feel that and get inspired to do that too. God bless you. I love you, and I'll see you soon.